What's up, Bama Insider Nation? It's Friday, February the 12th, 2021. Thank you guys for being here this morning. My name's Trey Yanity. Today, I'm joined by a special guest, the man that is behind the plaid jacket, our fearless leader, the leader of the Crimson Chaos, a guy that I've been good friends with now for 3 years, fellow student and basketball fanatic, Cameron Luke Ratliff. You may know him as Fluffopotamus. Luke, thanks so much for joining us this morning. How you doing?
Trey, I'm doing great. It's good to be on. Thanks for having me. Friday morning, a little rain here in Tuscaloosa. If you're in Tuscaloosa, hopefully that gets out of the way so we can have a nice weekend.
Yeah, certainly. Guys, thanks for being here. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. We're getting close to 50,000, and we need your help. And don't do it just for us, guys. Do it for yourself. There's so much content going on right now. It's the football off season, but there's so many headlines breaking every day. We got transfers. We're getting depth charts updated. We got a lot of basketball coverage going on right now. We're going to get into that this morning. Luke, I know this team has you excited for a lot of different reasons, but what's the thing that's made this team the most special so far this season? Obviously, we knew Nate Oates was going to come in here and probably have success pretty early on, but I don't think anybody expected it this early to be, in consideration for even a 1 seed in this tournament. What's the one thing that you think makes this team the most special as we get it started this morning?
Well, first of all, you said it right there. Nobody really expected it this early. It's year 2 in the Coach Nate Oates era at Alabama, and has Alabama primed, magic number 3 games for a regular season SEC championship in basketball, first since 2002. But the thing that makes this team special is something that nobody really expected outside of Herbert Jones this year, and that's the defense. Alabama, according to KenPom, number 1 defensive team in the country. That's over Baylor, it's over Gonzaga, it's over everyone, Texas, West Virginia, everyone. Number 1 in the country. Everybody expected Coach Oates to come in here and have the offensive philosophy and have that train going, which he does. Alabama top 30 in offensive efficiency in the country and top 50 in tempo. But defensively, Alabama has become one of the best two-way teams in the country. And that's been, I'll say, it's been a surprise for a team that was 114 in defense last year. This is a bit of a surprise. That we know what Herbert Jones, SEC Player of the Year candidate, Herbert Jones can bring to the floor on the defensive end. But we didn't know about the rest of the team. This is an SEC team. This is an Alabama team that gave up 80 points per game in the SEC last year. And here they are on the defensive end of the ball, just really holding teams under 1 point per possession, which is the mark of a good defensive team. And they're the best defensive team in the country this year. No one expected it. That's what makes them special.
They've been dominant on both sides of the basketball, and we'll talk about why here in a little bit. But first, Luke, let's get to know you a little bit more. Everybody sees you at the front of the student section, making all kinds of noise, getting everybody excited, and it's a whole lot of fun. But I think a lot of people are like, "Man, who is this guy? Where does he get all this energy?" Tell us about yourself, how you got involved with the Crimson Chaos, and kind of your route to where you are now.
Yeah, so I've been the president of our student section. This is my 3rd season doing Crimson Chaos duties, being the leader of our student section. And it came about really because I was there enough, I think. And they came to me, some of our athletic marketing people came to me and asked if I wanted to be a part of the leadership group in Crimson Chaos. And I couldn't have said yes faster. It's been 3 seasons now. It's been the best experience of my life. I've gotten closer with not only our administration, but also our coaching staff and our team. And it's been really fun. It's been really, really fun, and it's brought out the best qualities in me as a person, as a leader. So I think it's been the best experience of my life so far. I don't know where I get all this energy from. Someone asked me. We were actually in Columbia. This was after Alabama had beat South Carolina Tuesday night, and someone asked me, they said, "Man, where do you get all this energy from? Be cheering during all these basketball games, be on the road." And I said, "Well, as soon as I find out, I'll let you know," because I don't know how I do it either. But it's incredibly fun. I really enjoy the camaraderie. Really enjoy being a part of the environment in the SEC, being a part of SEC basketball, even if it is a very, very small, very sliver of a part of the pie in the SEC basketball landscape. I enjoy being part of it.
You say small, but Luke, I mean, you've got the recognition now. You've definitely got the audience, and it energizes everybody else. It gets everybody else involved. It's been, a token of this program for the last 3 years. What you've brought. Talk about your experiences with other programs a little bit more. There's been some funny stories over these last several years, but at the end of the day, I think these teams start out thinking, man, who is this kid? We can't stand this guy. He's making all this noise. He's saying some not very nice things to our players, but it seems like by the end of it all, you usually make a positive relationship with these other coaches and players around the country.
I do, and I try to es- especially before COVID, whenever we were, everyone was packed into one arena, and we were very loose with the way we deal with people and come up and meet and greet people. I tried to have a relationship and introduce myself to every basketball coaching staff that walked into the Coleman Coliseum, just so because I think it's a cool opportunity. Number one, that I can just walk over and introduce myself to the Frank Martins of the world, the Kwanzaa Martins, Rick Barnes of the world, and I think I've got some cool stories, some that I won't share on this show today, but I try to have a good relationship with everyone that comes in. Most coaching staffs are respectful of it. Most schools are respectful of it. I know probably the most receptive school is Mizzou. Kwanzaa Martin staff, they're great people. I know this year it was different because when we played in Missouri, it was COVID restrictions, no one can be down on the court. Everyone's like 5 or 6 rows off of the court to begin with. But last year with Missouri and their coaching staff after the game, Alabama lost that game. But after the game, their coaching staff all came over and said hello to me, and that's the really cool part of it. Is that I'm not anyone. That's the thing. I don't want to overplay myself at all. I'm just a kid that goes to these basketball games and tries to be nice to others, and to see it come out like that, to see it be receptive from other people it's pretty cool. It's the coolest thing. I'm always humbled by it.
It's very cool. I mean, it's an experience unlike most students. Pretty much every student can get here. Really created a brand for yourself, and separated yourself from any other fan that's part of the student section or in the crowd. But you talk about other programs and some of these other teams. Is there one team in particular that maybe doesn't like seeing you pull up on the bus the most, or is it all pretty neutral now, pretty relaxed?
It's a tie between Arkansas and LSU. It's a tie between Arkansas and LSU. Those two schools, we like to, myself included. It's a little hostile between us, admittedly. It's not by this. Say what?
There was a strong offer at one point, so I can understand why you would bring the anger.
Absolutely. But it's a tie in terms of hostility between teams and coaching staff. It's a tie between LSU and Arkansas.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, we definitely respect and support the energy that you bring for every game. A lot of energy was brought on the football field this season as well. And, you and I both could only attend maybe one game this season. But the energy was still there in the stadium. And it wasn't hard for these fans because this team was absolutely loaded. And I know, Luke, basketball is your strong suit. We got to talk football here for just a minute. 2021 NFL draft is coming up. This event is always just so much fun. It's kind of like, another championship game. Everybody is locked in on it, waiting to see where their athletes will go. If you're a fan of an NFL team, you're waiting to see who's going to join the group. Alabama is going to be putting quite a few players into this draft, into this first round especially. And that's what I want to focus on today, Luke. Talking about the first round, who gets you the most excited in this NFL draft, and who do you see going first?
That's a tough one. I don't know. There's been a lot of talk. Well, of course, Trevor Lawrence from Clemson is going first. That's a given. And then it's Justin Fields below that. Everything after that, it's a little blurry. I really like. I see it for third in that draft. The third best prospect being a tie between the man right there, Devontae Smith, and Jamar Chase from LSU. Everything after that's a little blurry. I just. I'm not a big breaking down guy of football, but I do know the prospects. I'm very up to date with this Alabama team and who's in there. And what's the over under you set for Bama players in the first round? I've got it 4.5.
Yeah, we were talking about it this week. I'm gonna go a little bit higher than that. I'm thinking we see maybe 5 or even 6 if you think about it. I mean, you talk about the 2 receivers. You're gonna see Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith go in the first round. I believe Mac will go in the first round as well. You see Najee Harris, that gets you to 4. Then you talk about the line, and I think Landon Dickerson goes. I think Christian Barmore goes in the first round. It could vary, but we'll see kind of where it shakes out. Mac maybe slips to the second round. Najee maybe slips to the second round. I don't necessarily see that happening, but it could. 4 is not a terrible number. Who I guess are you most excited to see play in the next level? Who are you excited to see on Sundays?
It's without a doubt Devontae Smith. I'm excited to see him play any day. If we're being honest, it could be Wednesday, Thursday. It doesn't matter. Any day, any team he's playing with, I'm just very excited to see. And this kid's development, I can't talk enough about how you know all this time at Alabama and this year. And I hate to say this, I really do, but do we talk about Devontae Smith the same way if Jalen Waddle doesn't have the unfortunate incident he has, the unfortunate injury he has, because that's something we're going to look back at. But without a doubt, this kid, Devontae Smith, it's in my mind one of the not just the best wide receiver to play at the university, but one of the best players to play for the university.
Wow.
Like it's 6 and Julio Jones in terms of wide receiver, 6 and Julio Jones and Amari Cooper than everyone else.
Yeah.
Right. But going back to the draft, you talk about first rounders, Bama players in the first round, and the one that really scares me, Trey, is Najee Harris not going in the first round. Najee Harris not going in the first round because this is the thing now. We see how the NFL has changed so much into a quarterback league. And it was a quarterback league before because it's the most important position on the field. But it's changed even more to the point where running backs are disposable. And if there is a play, that scares me so much about this draft is Najee slipping into the second round because teams just don't want to take a running back because of how disposable the position is. But hopefully, this is a guy I don't think you can pass up on. Really, if he's there late first round, you can't pass up on it. But hopefully we get that. I set the bar over 4.5, over under 4.5 players in the first round. Hopefully we get it.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think that number is a good one because, like you said, he could slip back, Najee and Mac as well. You'd hope not, though. If you're one of these NFL teams, look at the tape. I mean, look at what this kid can do. It's truly unbelievable. I wouldn't be too upset either way because these guys are going to have incredible success at the next level, but they deserve to go in the first round, especially Najee after not even being named a Heisman finalist. Kind of talking about the student section at football games, though, being that you're the leader of the basketball student section, how do you think things are going to change here, Luke, as we start to get reacclimated into regular crowd size and everything else? You remember that controversy back in, I guess it was 2018. Students were leaving games early. People weren't sticking around. Do you think that changes now that people haven't been able to do it for 2 years?
Well, I sure hope so. I'm not going to be here to see it, but I sure hope so because the point before was whenever we had full crowds at football games, I think the whole point wasn't that students were leaving. It was that it was an 11 o'clock game. It was hot as all get out in the middle of September, and Alabama was up 60 points on Western Kentucky. And I don't blame kids for wanting to leave that game. I really don't. But I think now we see that sort of change because of we've had it taken away because of this deadly virus that's going around still. And hopefully by August, September of this year, it's gone so we can have football the way we experienced it. We have sports the way we know to experience it and the way we know to watch it and take in sports. Hopefully we have that again. And hopefully it's a wake-up call to people that, hey, it's not always going to be here. Like, we're not always going to have the opportunities to watch packed in stadiums, and we're not going to have just disposable opportunities to watch a team, especially like Alabama in football again.
Yeah, and like you said, I hope it opens eyes for a lot of people, because this year has just been different. It's been crazy. It's been unbelievable to think that 365 days ago, things were pretty normal, and since then they've taken a turn. I guess it was the SEC tournament last year. The SEC tournament for basketball was really that first day that everything was beginning to get shut down. You feel terrible for that group last year, but this year's team is primed to make a deep run. I mean, this team has been in the top 10 now for several weeks. Fell back to number 11. Okay. But still a team that is nationally getting a lot of attention right now and has been playing excellent basketball. And they're doing all of this without their center. They're doing it without Jordan Bruner right now. He has obviously had a huge effect on this team. How much of a difference is it going to make when Bruner comes back to join the squad?
It's going to make, oh my goodness, I don't think I can overstate the difference it'll make, but especially with this Alabama team now that we are in the throes of February. We are, 18, we're 20 games into the season, 21 games into the season. And for a team like Alabama, Alabama has played more games in college basketball than any other team in the country. And it's a tie for first in that category. But Alabama's at the top of the list in terms of games played. And this is the part of the season, in normal season, we see teams just starting to wear down. We see teams go into a bit of shooting slump. We see injuries. We see stuff like that. And that's really what's happening with Alabama right now. It's nothing really out of the ordinary in terms of a shooting slump or anything like that. But Alabama in the front court is just so beat up right now. Like you have Jordan Bruner, who's out. Nate Oates said this morning, according to John Rothstein, Nate Oates said he's still a couple of weeks out. Jordan Bruner is, and it sucks too because you see this picture right here. This from the Kentucky game where Jordan Bruner got hurt in early January. He was starting to play his best basketball of the year, and it's so unfortunate to see that things turn that way for him. But look elsewhere on Alabama. Alex Reese dealing with knee and hip problems for the second straight year. You have James Rojas, who's starting to come back around. James Rojas hurt his wrist really bad at the beginning of conference play, had an unspecified illness a couple of weeks ago, and he's starting to come back around now. Herbert Jones, his back troubles. It's just this team's getting a little beat up now, a little decimated at the front court, and that's not really anything out of the ordinary. Again, this is February in the SEC. This is February in college basketball. Teams are starting to get a little worn down, but Trey, it would be really nice to have Jordan Bruner right now, especially up against teams like the last game against South Carolina. The best offensive rebounding team in the conference and seventh best team in terms of offensive rebounding percentage in the country. It would have been real nice to have Jordan Bruner for that game, for Missouri, for Mississippi State, for a bunch of other games before. But his importance to this team cannot be overstated right now.
It can't. But I think that's what makes it so cool about this team and how they're continuing to win. And they have slumped a little bit. There's no denying that. They lost 2 out of 3. They've looked sluggish. They didn't look very good against Mississippi State. Really didn't look great against Kentucky in their home win. But this team just kind of has some magic. What's been the formula on both sides of the basketball? I mean, they're efficient either way you draw it. What has been the strategy this year? Obviously, Nate Oates loves his teams to get a lot of shots up, loves them to feel comfortable, and they're playing with a lot of energy. What's been getting this all clicking so fast?
It's the culture. It's the culture, Trey. This is the culture that Coach Oates, the first day he stepped on campus at the University of Alabama, he talked about the max effort, the selfless love, the love for the game of basketball, the love for one another, the blue collar mentality. And that's what's kept this team. This is a bunch of these wins recently. Kentucky, South Carolina, win against Mississippi State. The game, even though it wasn't a win, the game against Missouri where Alabama was down 22 points with 12 minutes left in that game and turned it around and came back, had 3 opportunities to win at the end of the game. Of course, lost, but that's beside the fact. That's a game Alabama loses by 30. Mississippi State, that's a game Alabama loses straight up in the final 4 minutes. Going into the final 4 minutes, trailing by 2 points. Even go back earlier this year on the road at Auburn, Alabama down 3, coming out of the under 4 timeout the second half. That's a game Alabama typically loses, but the culture of the team keeps this team alive, keeps Alabama running, and it's a sigh of relief to see, really, if you're an Alabama basketball fan. But it's inspiring to see that this team can overcome bad shooting. This team can overcome calls that don't go their way. This team can overcome injuries and still find ways to be top dog in the Southeastern Conference.
And it's so inspiring too, because it's the same players in a sense. John Petty, Herb Jones, a lot of these guys, Alex Reese, they were around when Avery Johnson was here, and the effort was a little bit different. And that's not a knock on Avery Johnson; it was a different style. But they were here for that, giving a much different effort, and now we're seeing them give this just max effort, full on energy every game. It's been really inspiring to see. But this team still has a little bit of work to do. They're being considered as one of the best teams in the country right now. Joe Lunardi had them as a 1 seed in his bracketology this past week, but they still haven't been able to climb that hill and, really make people think that they could win this whole thing or get to the Final Four. Let's talk about that question a little bit more. Is it realistic that Alabama gets there this year? I think you return Bruner. If Juwan Gary gets healthy, if the bigs can get healthy and this team gets hot, I don't think it's out of the question. What do you think, Luke? Is this team made to go all the way?
This Alabama team is definitely a team that could be playing on Saturday and Monday in April, right? This is a Final Four caliber team, especially if they get a good draw in the NCAA tournament, if they get into a good bracket. But right now, I think the focus needs to be on Alabama. 6 games left. And it would mean so much, Trey. It would mean so much if Missouri were to go. If Arkansas were to go into Missouri this Saturday, tomorrow, and beat Missouri, it would go so far with this team, because the magic number with 6 games left for Alabama to win the SEC is 3. That means Alabama can close out the conference on their home court next Saturday against Vanderbilt, the worst team in the conference.
Wow.
And you look right now, there are three games coming up for Alabama in tomorrow against Georgia, Wednesday against Texas A&M, and next Saturday against Vanderbilt. 3 of the worst teams in the conference. This is a prime opportunity for Alabama not only to go out and win the conference, but get a little healthier and be able to rest Herbert Jones some more. And of course, Juwan Gary probably not going to play tomorrow against Georgia. This is time for Alabama just to sort of, I don't want to say take it easy, because these are tough teams. And Alabama's number 1 in the conference, and everyone's playing up to them now, which is, well, that's different.
That's a funny thought.
Yeah, everybody's playing up to Alabama now. So they're not easy games, but these are games where Alabama can win and sort of, take a step back as a team and find ways to rest Herbert Jones and not play him the whole game. Find ways to just get a little healthier and get into a little bit of a rhythm against some of these bad teams. But in terms of potential, this team could absolutely be playing. I think the most probable outcome for Alabama in terms of seeding in the NCAA tournament, they're virtually a lockdown. Tomorrow, CBS is doing the top 16 show, the top 16 selection show. The committee's going to release their top 16 teams tomorrow on CBS. I don't know what time. It's worth looking up. Wow. But that'll tell you everything what the committee thinks about Alabama. If Alabama's the top 1 or 2 seed, that's probably where they're going to stay, barring catastrophe at the end of the year, going into the tournament. But that's where I think they are. They stay on that 2-3 line, 3 line at worst, going into the tournament and get a really good draw for those first 2 rounds. And that's crazy to think, man.
It's
especially since last year. You look last year, this team has to basically win the SEC tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. And now here they are, virtually a lock into the tournament as a 2 seed. It's incredible to think.
It's incredible. It's just insane. This is so different. And we knew this was possible. But even this season, once we got into it and, they came out, looked really poor against Stanford, lost that game, kind of bumbled around a little bit, lost to Clemson, then they lost to Western Kentucky, struggled against Furman. People were still skeptical to think that just, a month and a half later, this team was in the top 10, making a push to be a 1 seed. It's really incredible. Guys, that show is going to be at 11:30 a.m. Central Time tomorrow on CBS. See where Alabama shakes out in that top 16. But I'm with you. This team's a lock. They're going to make the tournament. it's not really about, whether they get in or not anymore. It's more about seeding and how they finish it out the rest of the way. That being said, you hear this conversation, and it really was more prevalent post Oklahoma maybe than Missouri, but sometimes you hear that teams need to lose a game, when they're on a long winning streak, when they're in this time of the season before things get too serious, more serious than they already are. You need to drop one to kind of reset, start things over, and move forward. Do you buy into that? Is that real, or did Alabama really really need a loss to Oklahoma, Missouri?
Now, I don't think you need to lose a game. I don't think anyone needs to lose a game. But I mean, there is truth to that phrase. There is truth to that saying that that sometimes teams, whenever they're really high on themselves, like Alabama was. Alabama won 10 games in a row or 11 games in a row. Wait, it was one of the two, 10 or 11 in a row.
Yeah, 10 maybe. Yep.
Going into Oklahoma 2 Saturdays ago, and just come off a big game against Mississippi State that week where it came down to the last minute of the game, the last 2 minutes of the game. And that's something we hadn't seen from Alabama in a long time. I mean, this is an Alabama team that thrashed Kentucky by 20, that went on that came back home to Tuscaloosa and beat Arkansas by 30, then goes on the road to beat LSU by the same amount, and probably the best Alabama basketball performance in a long time. And then comes home and gets humbled by Mississippi State, sees that, hey, we can lose if we don't get straightened up, and then goes on the road and does lose in a tough 11 o'clock game on the road. Like, Trey, we don't talk about that enough, how tough of a game 11 a.m. on the road is, because you're flying in. Think of it from a team perspective. And you've seen it this year. You've seen it the past 2 losses for Alabama, Oklahoma and Missouri, where Alabama comes out and just looks tired. Just look, they're playing flat-footed. They're not getting back on defense fast enough. There's not as much intensity. That's because it's 11 o'clock on the road. That's the hardest time to play a basketball game, because you're coming in Friday evening. You're doing an 8 o'clock shoot-around. You got to wake up at 6:30 next morning, get to the arena for morning shoot-around. And it's very taxing on the body. And you saw it against Oklahoma and Missouri. But those losses, that loss to Oklahoma showed Alabama that when you're not shooting and you're not shooting well, and you're not giving maximum effort, and you're not playing with the intensity that people have come to expect from you, you can lose games, and it can hurt you. It can hurt you a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a weird conversation, but at times I do think that teams need it more than others. This Alabama team, though, they seem motivated. They don't seem like they're one of those teams that really needs to, an ego check or anything. I think Nate Oates is there to do that quite enough for them, but they're playing at a high level, and they're playing like they're going to win this SEC regular season, potentially the conference championship as well via tournament, and be a lock to make this dance and make a run in it as well. But as we look down the rest of the schedule, which date are you circling the most, maybe for the home and on the road, as this team gets close to winding it up now, just 6 to go?
Yeah, so I'm looking, I think it's next Wednesday. Not this Wednesday, it's coming up, but the Wednesday after that, rather, I should say, in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where Alabama has to go play an Arkansas team that's won the past couple of games. Just come off a big win in Rupp Arena. And if you're an Alabama fan, you're pulling hard for Arkansas tomorrow in Missouri. You're pulling hard for them. That's the road game that you worry about that's left. Also, you have, to end the season, you have Auburn at home on March 2nd, and that's going to be probably the toughest game left, because Auburn that's going to be their championship, because, Trey, they're not eligible for the postseason. That's going to be the game they play the most for. That's the end of their season. They have a really, really, I mean, I can't talk enough about how good Sharif Cooper has been for Auburn this year since he's come back. He is unbelievable to watch. He reminds me so much. He's got the court vision of Trae Young, with the handles and the abilities on the offensive end of the ball of Kyrie Irving. He's so good to watch. And hopefully for us Alabama fans, we're crossing our fingers, hopefully he goes to the NBA draft. But that's going to be a really, really tough game for Alabama, especially if things somehow come down to the wire. Alabama's magic number is 3 with 6 games left, and sometimes hopefully it doesn't come down to the wire, and Alabama needs to win that game to clinch the SEC. But those are the 2 toughest games left. On the road against Arkansas, a team that really likes to get up and down the floor, but doesn't like it when other teams get up and down the floor with them. Not a very good defensive team in that right. In Auburn at home. Those are the games you have to circle on your calendar left.
I like it. Yeah, a couple of big ones. Auburn's had kind of struggles here in Tuscaloosa over the past few years. Luke's been a big part of that. Guys, hit that like button, subscribe, get in the chat. We love to hear your comments as we rock with you on this Friday. The future is looking bright for this Alabama team. Obviously, the present is going very well right now. But as we talk recruiting, it looks like Alabama's setting up for a dynasty here. Nate Oates is an excellent recruiter. We knew this coming in. We saw really on the transfer side more than anything, with some of these players, Jordan Bruner, Javon Quinterly, Keon Ellis, we knew he was going to be able to get kids to transfer here. We knew he was going to be able to recruit as well, but it's been, an excellent start in that regard. Let's talk about this class a little bit. I'll pull up a graphic here to give you a map of 2021. Obviously, JD Davidson probably gets you the most excited, but let's talk about this class as a whole and what you expect as the rest of 2021 goes on. Who else may sign and what you like about the three that they have already?
Well, let's talk about the three that Alabama has already. It starts and ends with J.D. Davidson from Calhoun. Number one, this was a priority for Coach Oates when he came in. This was the priority. If you listen to Coach Oates talk about recruiting, he has to lock in. He has to put a wall around the best players in the state of Alabama so they don't get out. And that's what they did this year with J.D. Davidson. J.D. Davidson is unfreaking believable, man. I don't think there's any best point guard in the nation, 9th overall nationally. He's 6'3", 175. Kid can jump out of the gym. Kid can shoot anyone out of the gym. He is an all-around ball player. That's the one that gets you most excited so far. But you look who else is signed. You have Jashawn Holt, who's a very good 4-star shooter from Georgia. 6'6", just very versatile wing too. But shooting is where he's at. You also look junior college player Langston Wilson, this is a kid that can jump out of the gym. I think the way to describe him is he does everything with authority, whether it's going up for a basket, whether it's going up for a rebound. Just whatever he does it with authority, and that's the type of intensity that you want to see on a Nate Oates coach team. Moving on, though, I think there's one player you're looking at right now, prospect that you want to sign with Alabama, and that's Charles Bediako. This kid, 5-star in most rankings from Florida at IMG, 6'11", 215. I'm finding it hard to look for better bigs in college basketball recruiting right now than Bediako. Originally from Canada, which, as we all know, that Canada, the Tuscaloosa pipeline, is pretty strong. When you consider Keon Ambrose Hilton and Josh Primo this year, who we forget Josh Primo early enrolled in Alabama, came here as a 17-year-old, much like Kyra Lewis, turned 18 in December. But again, this is one of his Team Canada teammates, Charles Bediako. This is the one you're looking for. This is the one you're waiting for. And according to him, he set his target date for any time this month. So anytime he can commit, and you need to be on the lookout for it if you're listening to the show, if you keep up with recruiting. Charles Bediako is a cannot-miss player in this year's recruiting class. Trey touched on something earlier in terms of transfers. Coach Oates has been known to go into the transfer portal and get some good transfers. You look at James Rojas, who's playing now, Jordan Bruner, who was the best transfer in the country coming out of last summer. This is I don't expect anything less from this coaching staff than to look into the transfer portal. A former Alabama recruit, Namari Burnett's in the transfer portal. Very talented guard, went to Texas Tech. Things didn't work out well for him there. I look for Alabama to be pushing hard on him again. But again, right now, you're looking at this class. You got J.D. Davidson. That's the one that excites you the most. You have very, very good players in Jashawn Holt, very good shooter, Langston Wilson, very athletic, big, 6'9" big. He plays bigger than 6'9", if there's such a thing. But wait and really focus all your positive energy towards Charles Bediako getting the Tuscaloosa.
Thanks for getting in these comments, guys. Paul Smith, when will Jordan Bruner play again? We talked about it just a little bit ago. It's looking like maybe a few more weeks, as Nate Oates, John Rothstein reported this morning. So definitely some time on Bruner. What about Wesley Cardette? Jamal Darian would like to know. We've heard about Cardette and some others, and we'll talk about the 2022 class as well here in a minute. But let's talk about Wesley Cardette a little bit. What do you expect the decision to be there? And if Alabama can land him.
Well, he can absolutely land. Alabama can absolutely land Cardette. Anytime.
There, Luke.
Say what? You got me?
Oh, sorry, we got you now. It's on.
All right, we're good. I'm sorry. Internet's weird, huh?
No, it's a wild world. Sorry about that. You're good to
go. Alabama can absolutely land Wesley Cardette. I mean, this is a 6'6" wing, very capable ball player, very, very versatile ball player. Isn't that right? He's got a very long wingspan. He's also good, very good on the defensive end of the ball. This is a player that Alabama can absolutely get, especially anytime Brian Hodgson is on the player, the primary recruiter on the player, Alabama can absolutely get him. One of the best recruiters in the country, Brian Hodgson. But Alabama, yes, I can absolutely get Wesley Cardette in something to look out for going down the road.
Yeah, it'd be another big one to grab. But like I said, this program is capable of getting these recruits now. Hodgson's been unbelievable. What's been the strategy there? We see Canada just feeding this city players, not just in basketball, all sports now, but basketball especially. But if you look at this map here too, and I left up the states in red was our football team where players were recruited from. A little bit more spread out. They're going a little bit more regional here with basketball. What's the strategy and the mindset as they look around the country to recruit? Is it best available that they go to first, or you said they build a wall around Alabama? Are they kind of trying to do that for the Southeast as well? What's the mindset there?
I think and you look at the Southeast, and it's most of the best players in the country are from this area. I mean, especially Georgia. I mean, there's so many basketball prospects in the state of Georgia. I mean, you look at Langston Wilson and Jashawn Holt, both players from Georgia. That Atlanta metro area is such a hotbed for basketball talent. The same thing with Florida. But you talk about the emphasis this coaching staff puts on this country of Canada. I mean, the thing is, it's an underserved market for recruits. Because they're up there. They only play a couple of months out of the year. They have to come to most of these players, Josh Primo, Charles Bediako, Keon Ambrose Hilton. They have to come into the United States to play AAU ball so they can get a little attention because most people just aren't looking up there. And we know the past of really, really good players from Canada. You look at Andrew Wiggins, who was a high recruit coming into Kansas, from Canada. You look at the kid. What's the kid from Duke? Went overall in the draft 2 years ago. I cannot remember his name. Saved my life. Oh my God, it's gonna bother me.
You to R.J. Barrett, maybe?
R.J. Barrett. Yeah. I can't believe I'm with that.
No, it took me a sec too. I was like, oh man, they had so many kids coming in that one time. It was a Zion show, so no worries there.
Yeah, right. So, but even him, there are really, really good basketball players in Canada, and this coaching staff, and I think a lot of it is their Buffalo connection, where they were in Buffalo for 6 years, and just across the river there was a hotbed of basketball talent that was underserved, and many people weren't looking at it because they're in Canada. I mean, it's hard to look up in Canada, but I think that's the recruiting philosophy, though. It's just, where are the best players? Can we go get them? I mean, you look in this past recruiting class, or 2 recruiting classes ago, rather, where Alabama was, this coaching staff came in and really went hard at Namari Burnett from Las Vegas. It's not, a lot of it is regional because a lot of the best players are in this area, are in the Southeast. But a lot of it, too, is just the best players.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like that's kind of changed. You see more kids come from Chicago or Detroit or kind of the North Midwest, but the Southeast is a hotbed for talent now. Look at Colin Sextons and Zions and players like that. It's crazy to think about. But that's kind of sports in general. The Southeast is always going to be a big provider of athletes. As we talk about the 2022 class, keeping it in the Southeast, Jalen Duren is a kid that hasn't made a decision yet. Amani Bates is the number one recruit in the 2022 class, and Bates is special. I mean, I don't know if you've had the chance to see him play yet, Luke. Oh my goodness, this kid is insane. But we talked about Jalen Duren, the number 2 overall recruit in that class, has Alabama in his 5 as of now. It's all cool. It's all, still very far away. And he'll probably make that decision, probably limit it down at least a little bit here to 3 schools sometime in the future. But, this kid is a 5-star center, a complete player, 6'10, 220. He's just a junior in high school. Do you think Alabama can land recruits like Jalen Duren? He's looking maybe Alabama. Amari Bailey, the number 3 recruit in that class as well, is considering Alabama. Will the Crimson Tide be able to land these kids?
Well, it's like you said, it is very, very early on in that in the Jalen Duren race. But this kid, Jalen Duren, he's chiseled from stone. This guy is. He's got a perfect frame to play as a big in at the SEC, really, and he can play anywhere. But it's Alabama. I mean, we look now with Alabama, and we're going to see the effects that this season has, the season that the Crimson Tide has. We're going to see the effects of this in recruiting, and seeing that Alabama can be a top 10 team in the country, can be a 1-2 seat in the NCAA tournament, has the potential to go as a program to go to a Final Four, go to the Elite Eight again. We're going to see that pay off in recruiting this year. I don't think there's a question anymore about can Alabama go after these top recruits, because it's possible. It's absolutely possible, and it's 100% doable with the success of the program now and the ability this coaching staff has to recruit. It's 100% possible. This program can go after the top recruits in the country like we see football do.
Why not? Why not, man? And this program is already seeing success. I think the more they win, like football, the better recruits you get, the bigger the dynasty. I think Nate Oates is certainly setting up for one. I like it, Strick 09. Pay Coach Oates. Lock him down now. I'm with that. I know Luke's with that as well. This team is playing at a very high level. They're going to continue to do that. We got one more segment for you guys this morning. We've been closing each Friday show out this way. It's a fun one. Winners and losers. We pick a winner and a loser from around the country. It doesn't, have to be Alabama necessarily or football or basketball. Luke, you want to get it started this week? One winner that you decided on. You know what? I'll go first here.
You go first, please.
Yeah, I'll give you an extra second here. My winner this week is going to be the Lombardi Trophy. It's pretty much always a winner. It's the greatest trophy in sports, in my opinion. But this week, it was being passed around all over the place, even in the Tampa Bay itself, as they had the parade there with all the boats. Tom Brady, for some reason, I'm sure you might have seen this video. Guys, if you haven't seen this video, look it up. Tom Brady decides to just throw the trophy to Gronk on a completely other boat. And somehow, I guess he is the greatest quarterback of all time, spiraled end over end and dropped right into Gronk's hands for the touchdown there. Brady had himself a great time. So my winner is going to be the whole Tampa Bay team, but that trophy especially for staying out of the water and staying healthy. Who do you got for your winner this week?
I'm actually, before you even said this, I was considering it, and I think I'm going to go with it. And this isn't piggybacking off of you, but the city of Tampa Bay, man. Holy cow. They are not just the winners from this week, the winners of the past year, these guys. You look, the Bucks, the Buccaneers, win a Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay Lightning coming off a Stanley Cup in hockey. The Tampa Bay Rays go to the World Series and should have won. I think we can all agree on that. Had Kevin Cash not pulled his pitcher in the 6th inning after 3 hits. But the city of Tampa Bay, and now they got a basketball team playing down there, and the Toronto Raptors playing in Tampa. But the city of Tampa Bay is my winner, not just for this week, but for this year.
I like it. It's been an incredible year for that area. In a weird sports market too. They were thinking about selling the baseball team or doing it half and half. I don't know, but there's a lot of celebration, a lot of championships going on down there right now. Whole state of Florida in general. The Heat made the finals. Great time to live down there in the Sunshine State. Not the best time to be a Seattle Seahawks fan, though. My loser this week is going to be Russell Wilson. There was some drama talking about the OL, talking trash about some of his teammates and the front office, everything else, requesting some demands. And as the week went on, people kind of found out Russ might want out. I don't know if that has any weight behind it or if he's going to be traded or not, but it's been a weird week for Russell Wilson and, kind of the center of attention for all the wrong reasons. So he's going to be my loser this week. Who do you got for your big loser?
I've got two losers, if you don't mind me
Oh, please.
doubling up on this. The first, I'm keeping it in the NFL. It's the Houston Texans. I don't think it's how often do we see a franchise that is this poorly run as the Houston Texans? Now, the Washington football team gave them a run for their money for a bunch of years, but the Texans, if anyone, Deshaun Watson has requested a trade out. I think we all know, and he's going to land somewhere that's not Houston. And just this morning, J.J. Watt requested to be released from the Texans. Just a poorly run franchise in sports. Going from one poorly run franchise to the other, the New York Mets were picked to win by some Major League Baseball writer who was my loser. Some Major League Baseball writer who was endorsed by the MLB via tweet had picked the New York Mets to win the NL East and the Atlanta Braves to finish dead last in that division. Behind the Marlins, had them at one game over 582 wins. And I just don't see how anyone could be that ignorant, man. No, and this is a Braves fan talking. Just how anyone can be that just ignorant to the truth. I don't understand.
No, that's ridiculous. I'm with you there. I'm not the biggest Braves supporter in the world. I'm not going to lie, but that's just egregious. The Braves are going to win the NL East this year. The Mets are going to have a good team, but that's too much. Come on now. Good loser there, good winner, Luke. As always, thanks so much for joining us today. Leave everybody with something here. You're the guy that gets the crowd more excited than anybody else on campus. Get this Bama Insider crowd excited for the rest of basketball season, the rest of athletics here in the spring.
You've got 6 games left in the season for Alabama. Alabama is 3 games away from winning their first SEC championship since 2002. We all remember the Antoine Petway backdoor layup at the buzzer against Florida. That was the last time Alabama won the conference. This Crimson Tide team, if things go right, has an opportunity to close that out next Saturday against Vanderbilt and Coleman Coliseum. If you can get a ticket, come. If you can get a ticket tomorrow to the Georgia game, come. This team needs all your support. They're playing better than they have in years. Years this team's playing better than they have. If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what does. A chance to win a championship on your home court next Saturday.
You heard it here first, guys. Luke is going to be there, as always, leading this crowd. Fearless leader, Fluffopotamus, the guy behind the plaid jacket. Cameron, Luke, thanks so much for coming on this morning and giving us your thoughts.
And thanks for having me. I enjoyed it, Trey. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
I know it, man. We certainly will. Guys, we're going to be doing this every week. We're going to have daily Bama Factor shows on throughout the week. I'll be hosting on Friday. We got all kinds of content out right now. Go hit up BamaInsider.com. You'll find Tony's articles there, Kyle's articles. We've started a new video series on player spotlights for the football team, kind of breaking down some of the athletes and getting you guys previewed for spring practice. We got other live shows going on as well. We got Monday Night Quarterback. We got recruiting shows with Andrew Bone. And so much going on. Hit us up on social media as well. And of course, guys, please hit that like button and subscribe. My name is Trey Yanity for Luke Ratliff. This has been the Daily Bama Factor. Thanks so much, guys. Have an excellent weekend. Roll Tide.